Welcome to the deep dive. We explore those stories, the ones just beneath the surface that really shape things.
Exactly. And sometimes the biggest impacts come from people who weren't necessarily seeking the limelight.
Absolutely. Quiet steadfastness, it can really change the world. And that brings us to today's deep dive, the remarkable life of Titus, a really key figure in the early church, but maybe one you haven't heard as much about.
That's right. And our main source for this dive is a fascinating new manuscript, Titus, Servant of the Unseen Kingdom. It does a fantastic job, really, of bringing his journey to life.
It sounds like more than just history then.
Oh, much more. It uses the historical context, the biblical accounts, but it paints this vivid picture, gets into his possible thoughts, motivations, makes him feel very real.
Okay, so our mission today. Let's unpack this journey from the son of an idol maker in Antioch
to this absolutely trusted, essential leader right at the forefront of spreading the gospel.
Yeah, and we'll look at some surprising facts, his internal struggles, and hopefully pull out some enduring lessons about, faith, sticking with it, and how that early movement just kept going.
It's a great story. It shows how impact can come from unexpected places.
So let's start there, in Antioch, northern Syria. Can you paint a picture for us? What was it like?
Oh, imagine bustling, noisy, just constant activity. Merchants shouting, hammers clanging.
Not exactly peaceful.
Definitely not. And young Titus is there in his father's workshop. The manuscript describes his hands, blackened with soot, helping make these bronze idols for the Artemis temple.
Wow, right in the heart of pagan worship.
Exactly. And even then, there's this conflict stirring in him. He sees the idol's lifeless metal and compares it to these whispers he's hearing, stories about someone, one who walked out of the grave.
That contrast must have been stark.
Incredibly stark. And then comes this pivotal encounter with Barnabas.
Barnabas, known for encouragement, right?
An insight. He apparently just cut right through to Titus's unspoken doubts, telling him, the gods you worship with your hands, they're not gods at all. The true God isn't served by human hands. Powerful words.
Cutting right to the chase.
He did. And Barnabas apparently said he could see something in Titus that even Titus himself could not name.
That's amazing, seeing potential where maybe no one else would look.
Exactly. That was Barnabas' gift, wasn't it? Seeing that spark.
So that spark, it catches fire in Titus.
It does. The manuscript describes it as a fire lit in the hollow of his chest. He realized he had to choose a huge choice.
And he chose Christ, got baptized. Sounds straightforward, but I imagine it wasn't.
Not all straightforward. The cost was immediate and brutal.
What happened?
His father's reaction was just harsh. That you are no son of mine. Just like that. Cut off.
Wow. That's profound rejection.
It really was a defining moment. He had to choose the way, as they called it, over everything, family, his past, everything.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. What does it really mean to count the cost, especially when it's that personal?
A complete rupture from his identity.
So this foundational sacrifice, it seems like it forged something in him. Resilience, maybe?
I think so. It certainly propelled him straight into the life of the Antioch church. That's where he also met Secundus, a friend who kind of filled him in on the church's history there.
But things weren't exactly smooth sailing within the church either, were they?
No, far from it. A major conflict blew up pretty quickly. These stern men arrived from Jerusalem.
The Judaizers?
That's them, insisting that any Gentile believer had to be circumcised, had to follow the law of Moses to actually be saved.
Which was a huge deal. It could have completely changed the nature of the early church.
Absolutely. It threatened the core message. Was this good news for everyone or just a Jewish sect? Paul was adamant. Freedom in Christ, not bondage under the law.
Okay, let's unpack this because Titus himself becomes absolutely central to Paul's argument, right? At the Jerusalem Council.
He does. Paul needed a living example. Someone who clearly showed the Spirit could live in an uncircumcised Gentile.
And that was Titus.
Paul told him straight up, according to the manuscript, because you are the matter. You are a Greek, uncircumcised, and yet the Spirit lives in you. Let them look into your eyes and deny that God has made you his own.
Imagine the pressure, being the living exhibit A in this massive theological showdown.
Intense. And that living example was crucial at the council. Peter argued powerfully, drawing on his own experiences.
Cornelius.
Right, saying, God made no distinction between us and them, having cleansed their hearts by faith.
And then James, the leader in Jerusalem.
James delivered the judgment. Basically, don't burden the Gentiles with the law. Just ask them to abstain from things polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, from eating meat of strangled animals, and from consuming blood.
Which is revolutionary, really.
Absolutely. It kept Christianity from becoming just, a closed-off Jewish group. It affirmed God's grace was universal. It paved the way for everything that followed globally.
And Titus, how must he have felt hearing that decision?
Oh, immense relief, surely. The manuscript quotes his feeling, "Today I have been given a home I never thought I would find."
Wow. That sense of belonging, finally, after being the focal point of the debate.
Exactly. It shows how these theological decisions had deeply personal impacts. And it speaks volumes about how the early church navigated these huge internal arguments even while facing pressure from outside.
But as you said, the challenges didn't just vanish after the council.
No, not at all. Back in Antioch, Titus faced more trouble.
What happened?
Well, he apparently healed a lame woman, and the priest from the Apollo temple accused him of something serious. Serious enough that Titus had to make a hasty escape from Roman guards.
So, real danger involved.
Definitely. And then Paul returns to Antioch and ends up confronting Peter publicly.
About hypocrisy, right? With Gentile believers.
Yes. Paul calls him out. "If you, though a Jew, live like a Gentile, how can you compel the Gentiles to live like Jews?" It shows these internal tensions were still simmering, potentially just as dangerous as outside threats.
It wasn't just abstract theology, it was about how people lived and ate together.
Precisely. And this whole dispute kind of escalated. The Judaizers didn't give up. They started actively spreading their message, trying to undermine Paul everywhere.
So Paul, Silas, and Titus ended up chasing them almost.
In a way, yes. Following them across Asia Minor, countering the misinformation. They even encountered what looked like sabotage, a rock slide.
Wow, physical danger again.
And they crossed paths with this intriguing Roman agent, Lucius Varro. A boy warned them later, Lucius serves another master.
Suggesting Roman authorities were already keeping an eye on them. Adds another layer of opposition.
It does. Political covert dimensions beyond just the religious arguments.
Through all this theological battles, physical danger, Titus is right there in the thick of it. Paul must have seen something really special in him.
Clearly. Which is why Paul decides to send him ahead to Corinth.
Corinth, described as ripe for the gospel and ripe for trouble. Why Titus for that job?
Well, the manuscript suggests Paul saw that unique blend in Titus. Maybe his Gentile background helped him connect, but also he had this firmness, this boldness that Corinth needed. Unlike Timothy, who could be a bit more hesitant.
Titus could handle confrontation.
Exactly. He could deliver tough messages, but also bring reconciliation. And he wasn't alone there. He got crucial support from people like Phoebe.
The deaconess, right?
Yes, hugely influential. And Priscilla and Aquila, the tent makers. It shows how vital that community network was.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, for me anyway. Paul then sends Titus to Ephesus to help Timothy.
Right. Timothy was struggling there. Strange doctrines, the manuscript calls them, genealogies, myths, endless debates, plus the massive influence of the Artemis cult.
That wasn't just a religion, it was like the whole city's economy and identity was wrapped up in it. How did Titus handle that?
He didn't back down. He confronted the false teachers directly. The source quotes him, "Then you empty the cross of its power. You trade the gift of grace for chains no man can bear. We are saved by faith in Christ alone, not by works, not by ritual."
Wow, just straight, unvarnished truth.
That was Titus, Paul's go-to guy, his trusted troubleshooter for the toughest spots. Corinth, Ephesus.
So what does that reliance tell us about Titus as a leader?
It highlights this amazing mix he had. Courage to face error, rock-solid commitment to the truth, but also a gentleness in how he dealt with people. Paul knew he could send Titus into the fire, and he wouldn't compromise the message, but he also wouldn't unnecessarily burn bridges.
And amidst all this high-stakes ministry, the manuscript gives these little personal glimpses too. Timothy thinking about marriage.
And Titus, still single at this point, reflecting on his own path, finding purpose and being free to go wherever he sends me.
It's a reminder they were real people with personal lives making sacrifices. I wonder what those quiet moments were like for him. So after all that travel, all those challenges, Titus eventually makes his way back to Antioch. His spiritual home base, it seems.
Yes, and his prayer upon returning, it says so much. "Lord, here I am, send me where you will." Just total readiness.
And it's in Antioch that his life takes another turn. He meets Cassia.
Right, Cassia,
Yeah.
daughter of Simeon the Tanner. The manuscript describes her as having this quiet dignity, serving widows, a combination of grace joined with strength.
Sounds like quite a woman.
She does. And Titus finds himself thinking about her. Not as a distraction, the text says, but in wonder, like a deepening respect was forming.
So it wasn't just attraction, but something deeper.
Seems that way. A connection growing out of shared values, perhaps?
And they start ministering together in Antioch?
Yeah, visiting the sick, leading small groups. And Titus feels like he's planting deeper roots somewhere with someone. That desire for stability, for partnership, seems to be growing.
But the mission calls again, doesn't it?
It does. Another costly call. A letter from Paul arrives. Trouble brewing again in Corinth, renewed divisions. He needs Titus back there.
And Cassia's reaction?
Just unwavering support, beautiful encouragement. My prayers will follow you across the sea.
That's real partnership, isn't it? Even when separated.
A powerful example. United in purpose, even across the miles.
So Titus sets off again, another tough journey. He goes to Troas, hoping to meet Paul.
But misses him. Tracks him down in Philippi.
Only for Paul to immediately send him back to Corinth.
Exactly. With a second letter to the Corinthians. A letter that's both really stern in places and deeply affectionate in others.
Talk about trust. Paul clearly knew Titus could handle delivering such a complex, sensitive message.
Absolutely. He needed someone with both firmness and grace, and that was Titus.
So how did it go down in Corinth when Titus arrived with that letter?
It had a huge impact. The letter struck deep, the manuscript says, led to real repentance, reconciliation for many. Titus's presence, his way of explaining it, was key.
But not everyone was happy.
No. Figures like Demetrius pushed back hard, accused Titus of just being there to collect money for Paul.
Attacking his motives.
And Paul's. Right. But Titus stood firm. If you reject Paul, you must reject me also, for I am his messenger. But I tell you, our message is not ours alone. It is the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah. He knew his role. Faithful messenger.
And eventually Paul arrives in Corinth himself.
Yes, and sees the positive results of Titus's hard work.
Yeah.
He praises Titus highly, a rare moment of explicit commendation we see recorded, and tells him basically go home, get some rest.
Well deserved, I'd say.
Absolutely. So what does this whole period show us?
Well, that constant tension, right? Between wanting stability, a home, and the relentless call of the mission.
Exactly. And how vital those strong relationships are. Like his growing bond with Cassia, grounded in faith. They become the anchor when everything else is turbulent.
And then that lovely detail of his return home, embracing Cassia.
And her simple observation, you're thinner, but you're home. Says so much, doesn't it?
It really does. The cost, the relief.
So their courtship proceeds. Titus proposes. And Cassia's father, Simeon the tanner, gives this incredibly wise blessing.
What did he say?
He told Titus, she will stand beside you as a partner in the Lord's work. You will not be master over her. You will be her companion.
Wow, that's quite progressive for the time. A partnership.
A truly revolutionary view of marriage then. And their wedding vows reflected that shared calling. Wherever the Lord sends me, I will walk with you beside me. I will labor with you in the Lord's work until he calls us home.
A covenant for life and for ministry together. So Titus and Cassia married life in Antioch. What was that like?
Their home apparently became this hub, a refuge for many, a place of hospitality, counsel, safety.
Really living out their faith together.
Yes. And then Simeon, Cassia's father, passes away, and Titus steps into his role as an elder in the Antioch church.
That feels significant, like he's truly rooted now, no longer the outsider.
Exactly. A respected leader in his own community, the rejected son becoming a cornerstone.
And then he does something incredibly brave, personally.
He revisits his own family, the ones who rejected him, to share the gospel.
How did that go?
Amazingly, his sister Miriam converts. A powerful moment of reconciliation, you'd imagine, after all those years.
So time passes. What's happening on the broader stage?
Years go by. Paul is now under house arrest in Rome. Seems like his journey might be ending.
But he's still writing, still directing things?
Oh, yes. He writes to Titus and Cassia, summoning them again. A new mission, Crete.
Crete? What was the situation there?
Struggling churches. Paul wanted them to go strengthen the believers and appoint elders. It's amazing, isn't it? Even from prison, Paul is still expanding this unseen kingdom. The work goes on.
So off they go to Crete, another new challenge.
Very much so. A rugged island, a population described as wary, suspicious of outsiders.
And then something dramatic happens in a town called Labina.
A town fire breaks out. And Titus does something extraordinary. He runs into the burning buildings to rescue a family, Nicanor's family.
And this family
had previously cursed Christians, hated them.
Wow. He risks his life for people who despised him.
Precisely. And this act connects directly to a key principle from Titus's life. Love is the strongest apologetic.
Action speaking louder than words.
Louder than any sermon could. The manuscript says, the town had seen with their own eyes that the gospel was not only words, but a love that would run into flames.
And the result?
The church there doubled in size. That single act of courageous love broke through all the suspicion.
Incredible. But then more news from Paul.
Yes, his final letter arrives, brought by Artemis, calling Titus to meet him in Nicopolis for the winter.
But almost immediately after.
The devastating news. Paul has been rearrested in Rome, under Nero this time. Much more serious.
That must have felt like the end of an era, a crushing blow.
You'd think so, but their response is fascinating.
What did they do?
Instead of despairing, Titus, Cassia, and Apollos, who was also involved, decide to embark on another new mission, to Dalmatia.
Wow, so they didn't just stop.
No. It powerfully demonstrates another core principle. The mission continues beyond any one leader. Paul's arrest, his eventual death, didn't stop the work. Titus and others carried it forward.
Proving the gospel's resilience.
Exactly. They went to Dalmatia, another challenging unknown place, and brought hope and unity through that same pattern of love and service.
So how does Titus's story end?
He and Cassia eventually returned to Crete. He becomes this revered figure, a true father in the faith, mentoring younger leaders, writing letters, guiding the churches. He grieved Paul's execution deeply, of course.
And his final resting place.
A simple grave, apparently, with a simple inscription that just sums it all up. Titus, servant of Christ in the unseen kingdom.
Servant of Christ in the unseen kingdom. That says so much about a life lived for something bigger.
It really does. And his life leaves us with these powerful, enduring principles.
Let's recap those.
Okay. First, faithfulness over the long haul counts more than flashy moments. Just showing up consistently.
His quiet steadfastness.
Second, partnership strengthens perseverance. Titus and Cassia are a prime example, sharing the load, the purpose.
Essential.
Third, love is the strongest apologetic. That fire rescue proved it. Actions break down barriers.
Can't argue with that kind of love.
Fourth, leadership needs both courage and gentleness. Titus had both. He could confront, but also restore.
A rare balance.
And finally, the mission continues. Beyond any single leader, beyond setbacks, even beyond death, the gospel message keeps moving.
What an incredible journey. That blend of quiet devotion, but also fearless leadership. His impact on the early church was just foundational, even if he wasn't always in the spotlight.
Absolutely. And his story is such a powerful example for us today, isn't it? It reminds us that real impactful service often happens in those unseen battles, through that unwavering commitment, that willingness to count the cost.
It really makes you think about faithfulness, perseverance in your own life, your own calling.
Where are we being called to serve? Maybe quietly, maybe without recognition, but making a difference nonetheless. It raises that question for all of us, I think.
So the question for you listening is, what deep dive will you take into your own life's calling, inspired by the steadfast servant, Titus?